to show you around Aprao, and I'm going to start here on the dashboard. The dashboard is a place where you can organise all of your projects. So each one of these cards that you see here is a project. I've organised my dashboard using the stages. So here I've customised the labels and called it under review, in due diligence and live projects, but you can customise it to suit your own workflow. You can move these projects through the life cycles or through the stages which you set. We can also archive projects like this, which removes them from the dashboard. We can bring them back to life by unarchiving them like this. When you're ready to jump into your first project, what you can do is you can either create a new project up here, or you can jump into an existing project by clicking on it like this. This is a project. So on the project screen, we can see a list of all of the appraisals down at the bottom here. On this particular site, I've got 3 scenarios, so one for 16 units, one for 15 and one for 18, and an initial appraisal. We can also see the project summary information here. So you can use this to capture any information that you want. And in this case, I've got the planning information and the purchase information with the vendor's details and a description of the site. And we've also got the project address. You can also choose whether you want to work in a different currency or whether you're working in square feet or square meters. Down here, we can then choose to either create a new appraisal or jump into an existing one by clicking on it, or create a copy of it by simply pressing copy, and that will create a copy of that version on the dashboard. This is ideal for running multiple versions and looking at scenarios like we've done here with 1, 2 and 3 beneath. So now let's jump into this initial appraisal and I'll show you around. This is our first look at the appraisal screens itself. So over on the right here, we've got the key metrics. This covers all of the key numbers that you're going to want to see when you're running your appraisal. So return on cost, return on GDV, your return on equity, etc., and your areas. Then we've got a summary appraisal here, which you can choose to have visible or hide, as with the key metrics. And then we've also got a residual site value tool, which I'll come to in a minute. So I'll keep that collapsed. We'll have this one open, as well as the key metrics, so we can see the changes in real time when we go through the appraisal. So we use these tabs along the top to navigate our way through the appraisal process. We start with the general information. So you give this particular appraisal a title. I've just called this one an initial appraisal. And then here we've got a summary. So this is a description of what the site is itself. Now let's jump over to the sales information. Here we've got all of our different unit types. So we have some open market units, some affordable housing units, and some ground floor commercial on this particular development. We can also see a summary at the bottom of our NIA, which is our net internal area, our gross development value, our sales costs, and our net development value. Each one of these unit types can be open like this, and we can see a full breakdown of all of the units within this unit type. We can easily add more units using our quick add tool, and there's no limit to the number of units you can add here, whether it's 1 or 1,000 units, it's completely optional. And you can also jump in and change the name, the area, the pounds per square foot, or the value on any one of these units. When you do that, the other fields will update as they're all linked together. So I'll just show you quickly. Let's change this area to 725 square feet. I've changed that, and that's had a knock-on effect on the value immediately. So I'll just put it back down to where it was before. Right, down here we have ability to set deposits. So on the open market units here, I've got a £5,000 deposit per unit coming in. Then we've got associated costs to do with the sale or the disposal of these units. So we've got some agents fees and some legal fees. I'll just collapse the open market units and show you we've got the affordable housing units, which we can have different fee structures to accompany. And then we've also got the ground floor commercial. And in the commercial, things are slightly different because we look at the area of the commercial units, we look at the rent on a per square foot basis, we look at the rent-free period and the yield to do the capitalisation calculation to arrive at a value, in this case of just over £1 million. We can also factor in the leasing costs, so the leasing agents fees and the leasing legal fees, and then we've also got the disposal costs, so the sales agent and sales legal fees. You can carry on adding as many unit types into your development as you want, and you just use that you do that by using these buttons down here. So add residential or add commercial unit types. So now we're going to jump over to the build section. Here in the build section of the appraisal, we can have as many build phases as we want. So what I've done is I've broken it down into these sections. I've got prelims, so these are things to get the site set up, like the security, the site office, the hoarding, etc. I've then got the demolition of the existing property on the site, so the demolition contractor and the site clearance. I can also add in other costs by literally hitting this button here, renaming the cost and putting an amount in here. And I've also got a 20% contingency in the demolition phase, just in case we hit some unexpected costs. Then what I've got is the open market build. Now this is where it starts to get very smart, because Aprao automatically recognizes the area from the sales information, which you can bring into the appraisal by using this button here. Then you can set your net to gross area as follows, and then the build cost is all driven from the gross internal area. So here I've got a single line item build cost of £180 per square foot, but if I want to, I can actually add as many build cost items into the mix like this, which will give us a full detailed build cost breakdown. I've also got a 10% contingency on the open market build. So the same applies here for the affordable housing and the commercial build section. And as I said with the sales, you can add as many of these elements as you want. It's also worth mentioning that these key metrics over on the right hand side are updated real time. So let's just say there was a change to our build cost from £180 per square foot to £190. You can see as I type, that is having a knock-on effect on those key metrics. So I can see what the real-time effect is of those changes to my costs. So I'm going to put it back to £180 per square foot and move on to other costs. This is the other costs section. So this is a place where you can capture any other costs on the development. So what I've got here is some professional fees, some statutory costs and some marketing costs. But you can add as many cost groups as you want, and within each of these cost groups you can add as many line items as you want. For each of these items you can either set them as a percentage of the build cost, or you could set them as a percentage of the gross development value, or you can enter an absolute value in the pound or the currency sign. You can add, you can duplicate these sections if there's similar costs which you would like to replicate. And as I said, you can have as many of these cost groupings as you want to allow you to sort your appraisal as you wish. The next thing I'm going to take a look at is the site purchase. So what we can do here is we can add in as many purchase elements as we want, and we call them elements because it's not always properties which are being purchased. So here we've got the purchase of the existing house, which is being purchased for £1.7 million. We've also got the purchase of a ransom strip. So this is a strip of land needed to unlock the full development potential of this site, which is being purchased for £250,000. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump back to the purchase of the existing house, because this is our main purchase element. I just want to show you how we handle the fees here. So Aprao will automatically calculate the stamp duty in the UK, in England, based upon the current use class or the existing use class. So we can change that there, and that would update this figure. If you've got a specific stamp duty figure, or you're working on an international project, you can simply override that, enter in a percentage, and that will give us a custom stamp duty figure. You can also enter it in pounds as well, or in your chosen currency. We've also got the purchase legal fees and the agent's fees, and then you can always see the effective stamp duty rate down at the bottom, taking into account the stamp duty bands. You can have as many of these purchase elements as you want, so you can really build up a site acquisition schedule depending on the complexity of your site. So the next thing I'm going to do is jump into finance. Here in the finance screen, we can add in as many lenders into the mix as we want. you can see a breakdown at the bottom here of the total costs of the project, how much you're borrowing and how much equity is going in from the developer. So here we've got a senior debt lender. I'll just show you quickly how this works. So we can set the senior debt finance or whatever your lender may be, either by the loan amount as a percentage of the total development costs or as a percentage of the gross development value. You can choose your type of interest, so whether it's on drawn balances, on full loan amount or on a profit share. You set your interest rate on an annual or a monthly basis. Choose your interest calculation method, which I'll come back to in a minute, your estimated term, and then what we can do is instantly estimate the likely interest cost for a development of this term. We then have the development finance fees, so commitment or arrangement fees, exit fees. You can call these whatever you want. You can override the names, and we can add in other fees if there are other fees. The same applies for any other lenders. So here I've got some mezzanine finance at £1.25 million. It's about 22% of cost. We can set the interest on this case on the full loan amount, and this doesn't have an exit fee, so I've simply deleted that fee there. Now, if we've got some affordable housing, we may want to exclude that from the development finance. So what we can do is we can use this forward funding tool to exclude the affordable housing units and from the sales and build section. And what that will do then is it will allow us to enter a facility size for the senior debt and the mezzanine based upon the percentage of cost for anything else which is remaining. So the open market units in this case. So let's just say 50% of GDV is being funded of the open market GDV, and here 20% of costs of the open market construction costs. So now what we've got is a full breakdown of our finance. We can also see how much the finance is going to cost us, and we can play around with multiple funding scenarios based upon the particular funding requirements for the project. Now I'm going to show you how to create a quick cash flow forecast for your development. So this is our cash flow tool. This has been designed to really speed up the time it takes to create a cash flow. We start by setting the start month for our cash flow, and so I've set December. You can see that appears here in month 1. We then use our spread tools to quickly allocate costs. So just to show you what I've already done is I've put the site purchase in here in month 1 of the cash flow. So that's when we're completing on the site purchase, along with the stamp duty, the legals and the agents, and the purchase of that ransom strip. The prelims start from month 1, and then the demolition starts from month 2. We're going to start building the units from month 4. So what we do here is we put the start month in this column and then the length of that particular build phase. When I hit the tick here, we've got the choice between spreading those curves or applying them over an S-curve. When I do that, you'll see that the costs are distributed in an S-shaped pattern throughout the chosen length of that build phase. So the affordable housing is going to start at the same time, and that is also going to take 12 months. And the commercial is going to start later on in the project. It's going to start on about month 8, and that is going to run for approximately 6 months. So we are now painting the picture of our cash flow. We need to factor in the sales. So we'll come up to the top, and here we can see our open market units, our affordable housing units, and our ground floor commercial units. We can always scroll down to the build section to see when our construction finishes. So at the moment, this is month 15. So what we can then do is start applying our sales to complete from month 15. But where we've got the deposits, in the case of the open market units, we might want to start accepting them from month 6. Let's say from month 6, we're going to start accepting reservations at an expected rate of 1 per month. I've hit that in, and then what we can see is there's 5k coming in reservation deposits from each of those units from that point. But then the completions from month 15, we're going to start to happen from month 15, and they're going to happen at approximately, let's say, 3 per month. And now we can see that those sales are coming in 3, 3, 3, and then the final month there's a single unit. With the affordable housing, that's just going to complete at the same time in month 15, so we can put the length of the sales phase at just 1 month. And then on the ground floor commercial, we're going to push that out slightly, so let's just say that's going to come in month 20, and that's obviously a single unit anyway, and that's all going to come in at that time. So now what we've done is we've created a detailed cash flow forecast in a matter of minutes, and we can see here a full detailed breakdown of our funding, of our cash flow, our estimated interest costs, and also down here the equity contribution which is required, and the all-important profit figure at the end of the cash flow. This can also be exported into Excel format if you would like, and you can choose to optimize the cash flow for either the minimum equity contribution or maximum use of finance. I'm going to show you how to do a quick residual appraisal. So I'm going to open up this project here. This project, we've got some project information here, and I'm just going to jump into this particular appraisal I've created called a residual appraisal. So I've inputted the sales information for my development, so what I think I can build. So that's a mix of open market units, some affordable units, and a ground floor commercial unit. We've got the build costs associated with that, any other costs, we've got our finance costs, and then here in the site purchase screen is where we do the residual appraisal. So what I'm going to do is, using this tool over here on the right hand side, is I'm going to set our target return. So I'm going to set it as 25% return on cost. If you work on return on GDV or profit on GDV, you can easily adjust that as such. So I'm going to work on 25% return on cost, and then I'm going to add a purchase element. So what we can see now, so let's just call it, give it a name, is call it site purchase. And then here we can see the residual site value is automatically populated. This takes into account the legal fees, the agent's fees, and the stamp duty, which is currently calculated based upon the existing use class. So you can see if I change it to a non-residential existing use class, that residual value is automatically updated. Equally, I could change it, so if our target return was 20%, not 25%, we can see that that has changed that residual value. I can then hit apply, and it brings that number into our appraisal. So I'm obviously targeting 20% return on costs. So when I open this key metrics panel, you can see now that our return on cost is 20%. If I want to use this, the summary appraisal down here, I can see that our target profit in order to achieve 20% is 1.367 million. And here you can see our profit is 1.367. So let's just say for a moment that our purchase price was actually £2.5 million. We then highlight in red that your profit falls below your target profit. But it's really easy to jump back, see how much you should be paying for a site, bring that into the appraisal, and then be able to make offers on site, on acquiring sites with confidence. Today I'm going to show you how to share an appraisal. So we've got a couple of ways. I'll start with my favorite. So we'll jump into the project. In the project here, we can see a list of all of our different appraisals, and this is the one that I would like to share. So what we can do is we click the menu here, and we can click share. When you click share, you've got the option of turning on linked based sharing. So I turn that on. Here we can see there's a link. I hit that button and we copy that link, and then you can send that link to anybody. When you send that link over to somebody, they are able to see a view of your project, which looks like this. This view of your project is a read-only view, but it's updated real time. So if you update the appraisal, whoever's got that link will be able to see those changes to that appraisal. The receiving person can then, if they are an Aprao customer, save a copy of that appraisal to their dashboard as such, and they will receive something that looks like this, a copy of a shared appraisal in their own dashboard. I'm now going to jump back and show you the other way of sharing. So I'm back over to my original project here. The other way that we can do is we can export a PDF report. In order to do that, we click onto the appraisal that we'd like to share, and then here's a button that says Generate Report. When we click on the Generate Report button, it will load the Saving as PDF dialog box, and then what we can do is we can choose to save that as a PDF somewhere on our computer. You can also see that when we save it as a PDF, the company logo is automatically updated. So if you have custom branding with your subscription, your company logo will go onto the report here. This report is also perfectly formatted on a page-by-page basis, and this is ideal for sharing with people that you do not want to share a link with, but you're happy sharing a PDF with.